Macquarie University was established in 1965 on a semi-rural site north of Sydney. It received its first students in 1967, and 10 years later, Welsh-Australian artist Alun Leach-Jones was artist-in-residence when he was asked to design a mural. This was to go on the side of the Lincoln Building, one of the beautiful so-called brutalist buildings which still form the heart of the university. 40 years later, as the university celebrated its Jubilee Year, it was decided to restore the mural. Alan, let's start at the beginning. How did the original mural come about?
I'd been invited to be artist in residence in 1977 by Wally Abraham, the architect. And towards the latter part of the year, the discussion arose that there should be some marker of the fact of the residency. What was my contribution to the university? Because the university's contribution to me was to give me time and leisure to work. And he came up with the idea, specifically for that site, that I might consider doing a major mural, a major painting. Not a painting, but a major mural, which would be obviously different from the paintings that I did, but appropriate to the location. And he also thought, because of the site, the imagery that should be used was in some way to reflect the nature of the buildings and the physical appearance of the buildings. So it was, in a sense, a painter's extension of the architecture. And the colour was there to set off against the architecture, particularly because it's very grey, and the only real colour was the foliage. Leaving all false modesty aside, I think it came out all right in 1977, even though it looks a bit of a wreck of the Hesperus now, with wear and tear. But at the time, it had a real sparkle, and the colour was really glowing. And of course, the campus was not fully developed, so it was a real marker. You know, quite a striking visual marker. I think there was about 4 of us up and down the ladder like monkeys, you know, changing the colour and making alterations, shifting the drawing, all of that sort of thing, you know.
Well, just coming back to the present day now,
yes.
How did the idea for the restoration of the mural come about?
Well, I think it was the initiative of the art gallery here and the staff here, because it had deteriorated so bad. And they thought, what do we do? And obviously the sensible idea was to restore it, which I initially resisted. I thought maybe pull it down and put up something else, or give another artist an opportunity to do a different mural. But then on reflection, thinking about the history of the university, it seemed appropriate to restore it back to its original condition, the way the buildings looked in 1977. It belonged in a time capsule, in a sense. And so I came round to the idea that restoration is probably a very good idea, very good thing.
What do you anticipate might be some of the issues involved with the restoration once you get underway?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of technical issues because we're going to have to strip the wall, take it right back to the concrete. And I'm not sure we can actually recapitulate the exact colours. We'll get it close to it, but I'm quite happy if the colours are marginally different, although basically it'll look the same. So in a sense, it'll be reinventing it in some ways to make it look exactly the way it was in 1977. I think Wally Abrahams, when he asked me to make the mural, it was in a sense a signal to the community. There was an artist on site who was a working artist who was going to contribute to the appearance of the university. And that was a very engaging idea, that the community could see an input from their first artist in residence.
I imagine on a project like this, you learn quite a lot. So what are some of the things you learned on this project?
Technical stuff more than anything. Just some of the materials we were using we'd not used before. Paint was okay. Getting rid of the mural, that had its challenges, definitely. You know, using products I'd not used before. But and how hard it is to paint straight lines. I've learned patience, that's for sure. Just literally that. Originally in my head I thought, well, of course we're going to tape it, that's how you get straight lines. But when you tape a line and paint it, you get a very nasty line. You get that, you get bleed, it just looks too mechanic, but the freehand.
It's actually, it's part of the beauty of that process was applying, paint, and we'd paint the outlines and then fill in, and there was that fabulous moment where you climbed down the scaffold to take a look at where you were, and that process was really engaging. It was really, and as we progressed and filled in larger areas, it was even more exciting. And we worked basically from the top down, so that if the scaffold had to be taken before, because that was our timeline was so slim, and we were told that the scaffold would disappear in 7 days. So we had to put those long nights in. But when
as I said, 4 months. Took the artist 4 months to do it. It's been there 40 years, and we get given a week to read there. And it's just sort of been there, sort of as an idea for a long time. And then sort of got realised this year there was some money got found for us to pay for the paint and put the scaffold up and for us to do it, and just, I don't know, just it should be there. It should be there forever, I think, just with the architecture.
Of course, one of the great things was first meeting Alun and seeing his change of heart towards what we were going to engage, and he, after our initial conversations, decided that it probably was a good project to undertake. And
yeah, that was a great meeting. I really enjoyed that. After meeting Alun here and him saying, I don't know why you guys want to keep holding the past all the time. And then after an hour of chatting with him and just going up there and him seeing it again, it was really special. Like, he was then really he was so excited about it. But yeah, it really did.
It's also a really great part of the process was collecting all the colour samples from the existing work, and taking them off to the paint shop and matching all those colours up, and with the excitement of Liz, who was a great aid to us. And
she's lady in the paint shop, best.
So I think that's when we really got excited, knowing all these paints were going to be mixed, and within a day or so we'd go and collect the 25 colours that make up the work.
You must have received a lot of reactions from people passing by. What sort of reactions were you getting from the students and staff members who walked past?
My favourite was the day the scaffold came down, and a senior lecturer, an older man, I don't know if he's a senior lecturer, but he was a lecturer, came down and sort of almost put his arm around me and thanked us because he saw us scraping it off, and he hadn't approached us whilst we were scraping it. He just had this mini horror that we were going to get rid of it forever, and he said he got really upset that it was going to disappear. And then when he realised we'd repainted it, he said, "Oh, thank you so much, guys, it's really made my day." So that was brilliant, just to think there are people around who are really, really bothered about it. It was good. And a lot of the students as well, a lot of the younger students.
It's been a great excitement from younger students, probably first and second year students who use that thoroughfare, and their response has been really fabulous. But I think because the paint was peeling, it was sort of, there was no engagement for them, and now that it's been refreshed, they really do engage with it.
But the amount of people who never even noticed the plaque, the Alun Leach-Jones Sydney Summer plaque, and now all of a sudden that jumps out even. Well, now the whole thing's all brand new, and the plaque that's been there since 1978, even that looks like it's been redone. So yeah, it's just, I think a lot more people notice it now, which is great.
I think ultimately it's brought about some joy to that part of the campus.
Tell me, Alun, if they were to ask you to do the mural now, today, how would it be different?
Well, time obviously makes it different in your thinking. But I think the difference would be not as striking as you might expect, because the language, the visual language I used at that time, to some degree is still operative in the current work. So if I was doing a mural now, I suspect some of that would creep into the work. But with things that I've discovered since then, greater degrees of complexity, for instance, might be apparent in it. But I would imagine you would see the linkage. It wouldn't be chalk and cheese. You would get a sense of something beginning here and ending over here. Do you follow what I mean? And I think that's the way most painters would work. A painting done 20 years ago, same size, 20 years later, will be different, but in a sense will still remain the same. You know, the Count of Lampedusa said, for things to change, you must always ensure that things remained as they are. You know, the 19th century Italian novelist. And I rather like that idea. So vulgar change just for the sake of change shouldn't be on the agenda. There should be an organic, natural development that brings parts of the past, present into now, if you know what I mean.